between two, these are the hemispheres. These are the cerebellar hemispheres, and then these two are connected together by the worm-like structure here. So this is ramus. And these are the cerebellar hemispheres, right and left cerebellar hemispheres. So when you look inside inside the cerebellum, you can see that around it you have the gray matter. That's what you have in brown. And then the white matter is in the form of a tree. Can you see the tree? This tree is called arbor vitae. Arbor vitae is the white tree, the white matter of the cerebellum. So the parts of the cerebellum you have to know. Cerebellar hemispheres, in the middle you have vermis, inside it the white matter is called arbor vitae or tree of life, and the brown part, whatever you have in brown, is the gray matter of the cerebellum. So it's easy. And then about the cranial nerves, we have 12 pairs of the cranial nerves. The cranial nerves are the nerves which come out from the brain. You can see them here, all of these nerves, all of them which have numbers on them, and they come out are the numbers that we have for the cranial nerves, but we are not responsible for all of them to find them on the bundle. You will look just at two of them which are very important. The first pairs of the nerves here are these two. Can you see them? These are called olfactory nerves. One here, and one there. One here and one there. Can you see the long ones here? These are called olfactory nerves. And the superior part of the olfactory nerve, where you have number 28 here, it becomes a little bit larger. This larger bulb-like structure is called olfactory bulb. So olfactory bulb is the superior part of the olfactory nerve when it becomes a little bit larger. And then you have the optic nerve. These two guys, these two are these are the cranial nerves number 2. So olfactory nerves are cranial nerves number 1. We'll talk about that. And then in lecture. And then the optic nerves are cranial nerves number 2. So here you have 2 optic nerves. On this one it says number 30 on this model. So you have 2. Can you see them? These 2. No. These 2. 1, 2. Okay. Optic nerves. And these are the optic nerves. The story is that, guys, the optic nerves come out from the brain. And then when they come out, imagine that these 2 are the optic nerves. When they come out, they cross. And the right one goes to the left one goes to the right. The place that they cross is called optic chiasma. So where these 2 cross is called optic chiasma. And then the continuation of the optic nerves here is called optic tracts. So these 2 are optic nerves. This is the optic chiasma when they cross, and the continuation, these 2 are optic tracts. These 2 are optic nerves, optic tracts. That's the same story that you have here, but you are very tiny. That's the same. Look, can you see the optic nerves here? Where they cross here is called optic chiasma, and then the continuation, one here and one there, is called optic tracts. Optic nerves, optic chiasma, optic tracts. One goes here, the other one here. Optic nerves, optic chiasma, optic tracts. So everybody got it? So these are the only cranial nerves that you are responsible for on the model. And then you have the dissection over there. Let me move that. About the dissection, guys, the thing which is very important is that you will take the trace and you have the instrument here for the dissection. You have the scissors and you have the kinds of the knives that you have here. Be careful. Some of them are not very sharp, but some of them are very sharp. So please be careful. Don't cut your fingers. I'm not going to call 911. And then the other thing is that when you are done with your sheep brain dissection, make sure that the sheep brains come into this red bag, which is the biohazard bag. Don't trash them, okay? Otherwise, the people there will kill you. They go inside this bag, not in the normal trash cans that you have. And then make sure that we have the sponge over there and we have the Lysol. Make sure that you completely clean your table with the sponge and Lysol when you are finished with the dissection. Always whenever we have the dissection, okay? The other thing is that make sure that you use the gloves. So there are 3 sizes. This is the smallest one I choose. You have small, medium, large here, so make sure that you use the gloves. It has the strong smell which comes from the preservatives. Some people are kind of sensitive or allergic to it. So the best idea is that before you start dissection, you can rinse it under the tap water over there in the sink, so it reduces the amount of the smell, the bad smell that it has. But the other thing is that right now, as you're standing, because then you go and you sit down, but as you're standing, if you're hungry, if you think that you don't like to look at it, if you think that you feel bad, please sit down. Because it happened to me here, that one of my students, that was the big guy, he just fell down and hit his head onto the edge of the table, and that was a disaster. I was lucky that nothing happened, but it may happen. So in any case, if you think that you feel dizzy, you don't feel good, you need to sit down. Please sit down over there. Immediately. Because if you want to go and take a seat over there, that's too late. You will fall down. Just sit down on the ground, so it reduces the danger of falling down. So I hope that it doesn't happen, but just for your information. Then the things that we need to know on the sheep brain, guys, are the things that you have in this handout. So this is your sheep brain. You can see that it's completely similar to what we have in the human beings. It's just in the smaller, it's a miniature of what we have in the human being. So you can see that, you can see the major parts of the brain here. This is your cerebrum, this is the cerebellum, the diencephalon is located inside it, and then this is the brain itself. Let's see, so let's go over the handout to see that what are things that we have to see. On the whole brain, this is the whole brain that we have. On the whole brain, you should be able to identify the right and left hemisphere. That's here in the middle. You have the fissure. What's the name of this fissure? Longitudinal fissure. So longitudinal fissure is a deep groove which divides the sheep brain into right and left hemispheres. These are the right and left hemispheres. And the cerebral cortex is whatever you have on the surface of the cerebrum. That's the gray part of the cerebrum that you call the cerebral cortex. So whatever you see on the surface is the cerebral cortex. And then what are the gyri? The gyri are the folds. So all the folds that you can see here are called gyri. And then between the gyri, the shallow grooves that you see are the... You can see that the surface of the brain is completely shiny. What makes it shiny? Can you tell me?
This is the pia mater.
Thank you, Mariam. That's the pia mater. Do you remember the innermost layer is the very delicate layer which covers the surface of the brain? That's the pia mater. That's the pia mater. If you try, you can even separate it, but that's very thin and delicate, and that's what makes the surface of it shiny, the pia mater. So you have this gyri, you have the sulci, and then you have the lobes. This lobe is called frontal lobe. Here you have the parietal lobes. These are the temporal lobes, and here you have the occipital lobes. So very easily you can see the lobes. Longitudinal fissure, of course, is the fissure which divides it to right and left hemisphere. And lateral sulcus is where, guys? The line that you have here, all the way, is the lateral sulcus. Lateral sulcus separates the temporal lobe from the parietal lobe. And then you have another sulcus here that we call it central sulcus. Central sulcus is almost here. And it separates the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe. So central sulcus, lateral sulcus, cerebral hemispheres.
Cerebellum.
But yes, we'll go to it. So these are the cerebral hemispheres, but in the this is cerebellum, right? In cerebellum also you have the hemispheres. These are called cerebellar hemispheres. And then in the middle, what is the structure in the middle?
Vermis.
This is vermis. So you have cerebellar hemispheres and vermis. The other structures are the cranial nerves that we can see here. On this one, look, these two. This one is more obvious. Is the olfactory nerve. And then the bulge that you have on the superior part is olfactory bulge. So olfactory nerve and olfactory bulge. I feel like a celebrity. And then you have the next group of the cranial nerves here. These two are optic nerves. Can you see them? These two. These are the optic nerves. Where they cross, we call it optic chiasma. And then the continuation here is called optic tract. But on the sheep brain, sometimes it's hard to say where is the optic tract, so it's not in your list. That's the optic nerve and optic chiasma, that's enough. These two are optic nerves, and when they cross in the middle called optochiasm. And cerebral peduncles, guys, are look, we can go in order, then it will be easier. So you have the optic nerves and the optic chiasma. This is the structure that you have here is infundibulum, what you are not responsible to knowing. Here you have the mammillary bodies. These are the mammillary bodies. Okay? And then these are the cerebral peduncles. This is the midbrain. And the cerebral peduncles in the midbrain. And then here you have the pons. Can you see the pons? It's like a bulge here. This is the pons. And the big one here is the medulla oblongata. And this is the spinal. So these are covering this. The other thing that you are able to see here are the corpora quadrigemina. Do you remember that you have 4 random structures? Here you can see them very, very beautifully. These are the corpora quadrigemina. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you see them? 1, 2, 3, 4. So the superior ones are called superior colliculi. These are the centers for the visual reflection. These 2 are inferior colliculi. So very easily you can see them. You just need to move it a little bit. You will see the superior colliculi and inferior. And cerebellum, we already showed you, this is the cerebellum. Then you will make a mid-sagittal section. Do you remember what does it mean, mid-sagittal section, when you divide it into equal right and left half? So this is the mid-sagittal section. So let's see what are the structures that we have to see in the mid-sagittal section. The first one is the cerebrum. Of course, this is of course, this is the cerebrum. That's the gray matter, which is on the surface. And then you have the lateral ventricles. You remember lateral ventricles? You can see them very well here. These are the cavities. So now we can really see that these are the cavities. This is the lateral ventricle, where my probe is. The lateral ventricle. And this is the corpus callosum, if you can see it well. You see the corpus callosum here. This is the corpus callosum all the way. And then this is the part of it that we call it fornix. You don't have the fornix, but it's here. It's the fornix. And then you have the thalamus. Here, this section is better. This is the thalamus that you have here in the middle. This is thalamus. It's a part of the thalamus. You have the fourth ventricle and the cerebral aqueduct. Do you remember where the fourth ventricle is located? Do you remember there's a hole here? Just next to the cerebellum. This is the fourth ventricle. And this is the duct. So the duct is called cerebral aqueduct. This is the cerebral aqueduct which connects the third ventricle to the fourth ventricle. This is the fourth ventricle. And then when you look at your cerebellum, you can see that it consists of the gray matter. The gray matter is called the cerebellar process, and you can see the arbor vitae. Can you see the arbor vitae? That's the tree of life. That's the white matter of the cerebellum. And then here you have on the middle part here, you have the pons. So this is the pons, the bulge that you have here. The first bulge, which is larger, is pons. The second bulge, which is a little bit smaller, is medulla oblongata, and this is the spinal. So these are the things that you have to find on your dissection. Please do your dissection. Try to find all the structure in your lab manual. You have the very